Yeah, that's what I told him when he said that to me. Yeah, he said it to you? Okay, yeah, I thought so. I know, I was there. I was there when he did it. Yeah. I gotta do my thing, bro. Yeah. No, but it's good. It's good talking to you. Yeah, you good. Hey, looking good.
John, I'm leaving you. Sarah, no. Wait. I never told you who wrote that letter. You mean you wrote that letter, John? I was afraid to tell you. There was so much at stake. Oh, John. Oh, Sarah. Oh.
Hi.
What's up, my dudes and my dudettes? Welcome to the Biblionost. Welcome to another episode of the Biblionost, where I talk about books and stuff. Please feel free to subscribe and comment and like, and give your friends lots of drugs, and then somehow convince them that they can save the world by subscribing, and then make them subscribe. I'm going to review a book that I thought was very interesting, called The Road by Cormac McCarthy. So let's view the tape, shall we? All right. Gotta catch my breath. Drinking water today because it's too early for beer. Unless your wife left you and your kids leave you and you just have a pickup truck and your dog, in that case it's not too early. Or if you live in China. We're going to take a look at The Road. Last couple ones I did was science fiction or fantasy. This one is just standard, regular old fiction. Regular old fiction! This is a story about a boy and his father. And it's mostly through the eyes of the father, I believe, of them trying to survive in a world that has kind of gone through a nuclear holocaust or some kind of fallout. The weather systems have begun to deteriorate, so it's kind of made the world crazy. A lot like Fallout or Mad Max. It's kind of just a long story about a boy and his father and them trying to survive. And it's very much about the father trying to protect the child's innocence and try to keep him from having to see the dark things that are happening in the world. Training him and teaching him to be able to withstand the hardships of the road. And basically it's them following this long road, trying to get to what they think might have a sort of safe haven for travelers in this world where essentially everything has gone kaput. Very interesting read. I wouldn't call myself normally a big fan of post-apocalyptic writings, although that is a very popular genre today in TV. It's interesting because it's not a hero story. It's mostly a quest story arc. Where it's just the journey of getting from point A to point B safely. And it's very intense, it's very realistic, it has you on the edge of the seat. For me, I read this probably when my eldest was probably within a year old. And so I was a new father, and reading this about a father trying to watch his son and them trying to cope without having their mother and what exactly happened with that, and trying to get by when people are trying to shoot them or kill them or eat them or whatever, and just how they're supposed to survive. There are a few books where I have picked it up and just read straight. I'm somewhat of a slow reader because I like to just soak in the book, and I'm also a slow reader. But with this, I was very interested in. I wanted to read it constantly, and part of it was because you really felt like you were there. What's interesting about Cormac McCarthy is that he is an excellent observer, it seems, or at least he writes as if he's an excellent observer, because when he talks about a scene, and I've talked about this before, he makes you really, really believe the story. And part of that is because everything, everywhere they go, everything has a little bit of character in it. So when he's describing them going to like this old abandoned house, it feels like you were going into an old abandoned house. Not just like, oh, everything was covered in cobwebs. Everything was covered in cobwebs. That's my old man voice. Hey, Jeffrey, I need my Tums. Hey, Jeffrey, I need my prune juice. Hey, Jeffrey, I need my tonsils. So it doesn't just feel like a fake, what you would expect someone to write about an abandoned house. Like, oh, the paint was chipping, oh, the wood was creaking, and there was cobwebs. Like, those are probably good things to have in a description, but the way he writes it is, everything is unique. You can picture it, and that is a huge thing with fiction, is you need to be able to picture it. Otherwise, you don't know what you're looking at, and you're creating your own things. A lot of times the problem with creating your own visuals in reading a book is you don't really know if that's actually how the author means it. So sometimes you can create visuals in a book, and then you'll get to a part where the writer will say something that destroys your imagination or what you had kind of perceived as how things were supposed to look. And it just messes with the flow. It's important that you're able to picture everything, or whatever you can possibly. And there's good ways to do that, wrong ways to describe that. He does an excellent job. Something that's really weird about Cormac McCarthy is he doesn't like commas and he doesn't like quotations. So he does these very long run-on sentences without commas, without any breaks or breathing points in them. So it feels, to some degree, it feels like he's a complete amateur and doesn't know what he's doing. Weirdly enough, it's not distracting. Once you can get past the weirdness of that there's no quotations and very long sentences without commas, it's kind of beautiful. And that's really rare for me to say about people doing the wrong things in writing. But it works, and it smooths things out. And he does this in his other books. It's not just unique to this book. It's his style of writing. Cormac McCarthy is one of those guys that I would normally be like, I don't know who this guy is. He's trying too hard to be unique, because he is writing very unique. But it seems to work out for him. I don't know if it would work out for anyone else, but he does an excellent job with it. Cormac McCarthy definitely has a thumbs up in my book. Also, I would say the effects on me is, I normally don't read books very fast, but his books I read very fast. I don't know if that's because of the rhythm he's created, or if it's just that interesting. I think it's a little bit of both. As a newer father, this was very heart-wrenching. Very difficult to stomach, because as a father who has multiple children, like so many children, like a whole bucket load of children, reading a book about a father and his son trying to get through the hardships of life is really, really difficult. Obviously, there's a movie out with Viggo Mortensen, and I think one of the actors from Stranger Things. Really well done, and I did see that first, but I completely forgot about it, and so when I read this, it was fresh. It was almost as if I'd never seen the movie. What's interesting about this book is that usually I only read science fiction or fantasy for my fiction, but unfortunately a lot of science fiction and fantasy are worth a dime a dozen. No dimes in here, and a lot of it's just not good. It's just not good writing. Maybe good stories, but not good writing. This was one of the first books I read that broke me out of just sticking to those genres, and I am very happy that I read it. And I got another one of his books, and I read that, and it was the same thing. I read very fast. It had the same weird styling that he had. And a lot of the things he writes are not epic. A lot of the things he writes, the story parts that he has, they're mundane. They're not huge plot changes. They're not huge plot twists. But he writes them so well and so crisply, that you're still satisfied. Like like a big meal after a long run. Like a fresh haircut after a day of spelunking. Like a fresh cup of ice-cold mango juice after a night of philanthropy. Like a hot bath after a long day teaching Siamese children. Like a good conversation with someone that has a sword. Like punching a guy in the throat who vapes all the time with a fedora and says "milady." You know what I mean? You should definitely get this book, especially if you only like sci-fi or fantasy because, well, at least for me, this was a good book to break out of. Plus, it technically is a little sci-fi because it is about the end of the world. But overall, very good. Yes, good. Very. Anyways, so that's my review today. Thank you for watching. Please remember to hit subscribe. Also like. Also, get your friends together and let's subscribe all together. And that way we can transcend those who are not subscribed and kill them all. Thank you for watching, and I love you. What's good about the road this is not the road. This is getting weirder every time.